Welcome to the Black Ship 4. No one saw the Black Ship arrive. There was no flash of light, no distortion ripple, no warning spike on deep space sensors. One moment, the frontier system of Varn was empty, quiet, forgotten by maps and fleets alike. The next moment, something vast and wrong existed where nothing should have been. It hung between the orbits of a dead moon and a fractured asteroid belt, perfectly still, perfectly black. Not dark like metal. Not dark like shadow. Dark like absence. The first to notice it were not soldiers or admirals, but miners, common men running outdated rigs, stripping ice and rock for water contracts. Their sensors began to fail one by one. Navigation overlays froze. Star charts glitched. One miner swore the stars themselves looked dimmer. Then the screaming started. The mining vessel Helios 9 was the closest. Its captain, a woman named Rhea Colt, had survived pirates, solar flares, and a reactor breach that should have killed her. She was not a woman easily shaken. Her final transmission was only 12 seconds long. "It's not on scanners." "Wait. By the void, it's right there." "No engines, no heat." "Why can I see it with my eyes but not my instruments?" "Something's moving inside it." "No, not moving. Watching." The transmission ended in static, followed by silence so complete it swallowed the background radiation itself. Helios 9 never exploded, never drifted, never answered a hail again. It was simply gone. Within hours, trade traffic rerouted around Varn. Within a day, automated beacons marked the system as unstable. Within a week, rumors spread faster than official warnings ever could. A black ship. A ghost fleet. A void predator. The Principality dismissed it as frontier hysteria. They would regret that decision. Far from Varn, aboard the loyalist battlecruiser Sovereign's Oath, Lieutenant Wyatt Staples stood alone at the forward observation deck. The stars beyond the reinforced glass stretched and twisted as the ship moved through controlled FTL, but Wyatt barely noticed. He was staring at a data slate he'd already read 5 times. Missing ships. Sensor blackouts. Unexplained silence. And one image, captured by a long-range telescope before its systems burned out. A shape like an arrowhead. Edges too sharp to be natural. A surface that drank in light. The black ship. Wyatt felt the familiar tightening in his chest. Same feeling he'd had years ago. Back when he was nothing more than a garbage hauler with a cargo full of methane and a bad idea. Back when he'd first crossed paths with the thing that should not exist. It was back. "You're certain?" Commander Redford's voice came from behind him, calm but heavy. Wyatt nodded without turning. Same silhouette. Same absence of emissions. Same feeling. Redford frowned. Feeling is not a tactical metric. Wyatt finally faced him. It was last time. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the distant hum of the cruiser's core. The black ship had nearly ended the royal line, had triggered a civil war, had changed Wyatt's life forever. And now it was hunting again. Across the Principality, alarms began to sound. Listening posts vanished. Patrol corvettes stopped reporting. An entire relay station transmitted one final message before going dark. It's inside the system. Not attacking. Not advancing. Waiting. In the shadow of a dying star, the black ship drifted, ancient and patient. Inside it, something vast and unknowable stirred. Humanity had noticed it again, and this time it was ready to respond. The first fleet to engage the black ship never reported failure. It simply ceased to exist. Admiral Kirsch had deployed 3 destroyers and a screening line of frigates into the Varn system under strict engagement protocols. No heroics, no close-range scans, maintain distance, observe, retreat if threatened. The black ship did not move when they arrived. It remained fixed in space, silhouetted against the pale glow of the system's dying star. No engine flare, no weapon signatures, no reaction at all. "That's it?" one officer muttered on an open channel. "That's what everyone's afraid of?" The words barely finished echoing when the destroyer Vanguard's sensors went blind. Not jammed. Not disrupted. Gone. Its crew watched their tactical displays turn into empty voids, then their external cameras followed. Stars vanished. Distances meant nothing. Even time seemed to stretch. The black ship had not fired. It had simply reached. Vanguard folded inward like a crushed can, hull bending without resistance, armor flowing as if liquefied. There was no explosion, no debris field, just a slow, horrifying collapse into nothingness. The other ships tried to flee. FTL drives failed simultaneously. Space around them darkened as if light itself was being pulled away. Screams flooded the command channels as something unseen brushed against hulls, not tearing them apart, but pressing. Testing. Learning. Admiral Kirsch ordered a full weapons barrage. The fleet obeyed. Missiles, kinetic rounds, energy lances, everything humanity had hurled at the void converged on the black ship. None of it mattered. The attacks vanished before impact, swallowed by the ship's surface as if absorbed by an endless ocean. No shields flared, no armor cracked. The black ship rotated for the first time. Not to aim. To look. Every surviving crew member felt it then. A pressure behind the eyes, a sensation of being catalogued, judged, weighed. Some collapsed screaming. Others laughed hysterically. A few went silent, staring into space with empty expressions. One frigate managed a blind jump. It reappeared half inside the black ship. The transmission lasted 6 seconds. "It's alive, inside the walls. Faces, too many." Then nothing. Within 4 minutes, the Varnus response fleet was gone. No wreckage, no survivors, no escape pods. Only the black ship remained, unchanged. When the news reached the Loyalist command, panic spread faster than any enemy fleet ever could. Emergency councils convened. Borders locked down. Entire systems went dark by choice, cutting power and transmissions in a desperate attempt to hide. Lieutenant Wyatt Staples stood before a tactical projection showing the annihilation in brutal, undeniable detail. They didn't fight a ship, he said quietly. They fought a predator. Prince Astor's jaw tightened. Predators can be killed. Wyatt shook his head. Not this one. Not like we're thinking. Redford leaned forward. Then how? Wyatt hesitated. Because the truth terrified him. We don't understand it, he said. Not its weapons. Not its purpose. Not its origin. He tapped the display, isolating the moment before the first ship died. But it reacted when it noticed us. The room stilled. It doesn't destroy randomly, Wyatt continued. It observes. Tests. It's learning how we fight. A chill passed through the chamber. Which means, Wyatt said slowly, the next time we face it, it will be better. Far away, in the depths of space no map dared chart, the black ship began to move again. Not toward Varnus, toward the core worlds, toward humanity's heart. And this time, it would not be patient. The black ship did not advance in a straight line. It drifted through inhabited space like a sickness spreading through blood, appearing at the edges of systems where defenses were weakest and attention thinnest. Sometimes it stayed for hours, sometimes only minutes, always long enough to be seen, always long enough to be feared. Entire worlds shut down orbital traffic the moment it appeared. Civilian stations powered off reactors and went dark, praying that blindness might make them invisible. Some governments ordered preemptive evacuations, others chose denial. None of it mattered. The black ship never attacked planets, it hunted ships. Convoys vanished without warning. Military patrols reported distorted starfields moments before silence. Even automated drones, stripped of human presence, were not spared. That was when the screams began to appear in data logs. Ships that vanished left behind corrupted recordings, audio fragments embedded into navigation buffers and sensor caches, as if the ship itself had screamed into the machinery before dying. Technicians who tried to clean the files reported headaches, nosebleeds, and intrusive thoughts that were not their own. Several committed suicide within days. One recording survived intact. Wyatt listened to it alone. There were no words at first, only breathing, ragged, uneven. Then a voice, whispering in terror. It knows we're afraid. Another voice interrupted, older, calmer, but breaking. It's not killing us because we're a threat. It's killing us because we're interesting. Something wet and heavy moved in the background. Metal groaned. A sound like bone grinding against bone echoed through the hull. Then the final voice spoke, low and reverent. It remembers us. Wyatt shut the recording off. For the first time since the Civil War began, he felt true fear, not of death, but of being understood by something that should never understand humanity at all. The Loyalist Council argued endlessly. Super weapons were proposed. System-wide minefields. Weaponized singularities. Wyatt said nothing. Because he knew the truth. You don't scare a hunter by becoming louder. You scare it by becoming unpredictable. The opportunity came when the black ship lingered too long near the ruined world of Talos Prime, a planet stripped by war, its orbit littered with derelict wrecks and dead satellites. It was feeding, absorbing debris, sampling wreckage, learning. Prince Aster authorized a forbidden plan, a bait operation. They stripped an old carrier down to its frame, filled it with false power signatures, simulated crew chatter, and a reactor output tuned to mimic panic-driven overload. Then they loaded its core with a prototype gravitic implosion device, unstable, experimental, and catastrophically illegal. Wyatt volunteered to pilot it. "This is a one-way mission," Redford said quietly. Wyatt nodded. It always was. The carrier drifted toward the black ship, broadcasting fear, confusion, and desperation into the void. The black ship responded. Space bent. The stars dimmed. Wyatt felt the pressure return, that sense of being examined not as a target but as a concept. The black ship opened. Not with hangars or doors, but with reality peeling apart. Inside was no machinery, no corridors. Only flesh fused with metal, vast rib-like structures forming impossible geometry. Veins pulsed with dull crimson light. Faces, human faces, were embedded into the walls, mouths open in silent screams. Wyatt's ship was pulled inside. Gravity inverted. Time stuttered. Thoughts fractured. He saw memories that weren't his. Human battles from centuries past, ancient wars, first contacts, first betrayals. Humanity, dissected and archived. The black ship was not invading. It was studying. Wyatt armed the device. The ship reacted. The walls convulsed. A sound tore through space, not heard, but felt: rage, confusion, pain. For the first time, the black ship screamed. Wyatt smiled. Good, he whispered. Now you know how it feels. He triggered the implosion. Space folded inward. Light vanished. And the universe blinked. When sensors cleared, the black ship was gone. Not destroyed. Gone. The shockwave crippled half the Loyalist fleet and lit the night skies of Talos Prime like a second sun. For 3 days, humanity celebrated. On the 4th day, a single message appeared on every deep space relay, written in no known language but understood by every human mind the moment it was seen. We have learned. We will return. Celebration died faster than panic ever had. The message did not repeat. It did not need to. Every human who had seen it carried the meaning like a scar behind the eyes. We have learned. We will return. Not a threat, a statement of inevitability. In the days that followed, the black ship did not reappear. That absence was worse than any attack. Systems reported disturbances with no visible cause. Crews complained of shared nightmares, vast halls of living metal, ceilings that breathed, walls lined with human faces whispering fragments of memories that did not belong to them. Entire shifts woke screaming at the same second, claiming they had heard something move just outside their hulls. Psych divisions labeled it mass trauma. Wyatt knew better. He felt it too. Not fear. Attention. Something had reached out during the implosion. Something had brushed his mind and pulled away, not wounded, offended. The Loyalist fleet regrouped near the core worlds, battered but intact. Emergency conscription began across every system still loyal to the Crown. Shipyards worked without rest, pushing out hulls faster than crews could be trained to fly them. Old doctrines were discarded. New weapons were rushed into service without testing. None of it brought comfort. Because every tactical projection ended the same way. Humanity lost. Then the first ghost returned. A patrol cruiser, the Dawn's Mercy, reappeared at the edge of the Calor system after being declared destroyed 2 weeks earlier. Its hull was intact. Its transponder broadcast the correct codes. Its captain responded calmly to hails. They let it dock. The crew disembarked in silence. Medical teams noticed something wrong immediately. No injuries, no signs of stress. Heart rate steady, pupils responsive. But none of them blinked. When questioned, the captain smiled and said, "We were spared." That was when the ship screamed. Not over comms, not through speakers. The sound came from inside the bones of everyone on the station, a pressure wave of agony and memory that dropped men and women to their knees. Lights shattered. Gravity failed. The station tore itself apart from the inside. Cameras caught it all. The crew of the Dawn's Mercy did not move as the station died around them. Their mouths opened in perfect unison. And something spoke through them. Observation complete. Their bodies collapsed into ash. The black ship did not arrive. It didn't need to. Wyatt watched the footage in silence, his hands shaking. The ship had learned how to touch humanity without being present. Learned how to send echoes. Learned how to turn survivors into instruments. Prince Astor ordered immediate quarantine protocols. No ship that encountered the black ship or anything touched by it would ever dock again. No exceptions. Wyatt supported the order. Too late. Reports poured in, ships changing course without orders, crews claiming they had received instructions from command that did not exist, navigational data altering itself mid-flight. Humanity was no longer fighting a vessel. It was fighting an intelligence that had decided humans were worth understanding. Then the stars went dark. Across 5 core systems, starlight dimmed as if swallowed by a spreading shadow. Astronomers screamed warnings as gravity wells warped and collapsed into impossible configurations. Something vast was unfolding between stars, too large to perceive as a single object. The black ship had returned. And it wasn't alone. Fragments of it appeared first, smaller shapes peeling away from nothingness, each one bearing the same impossible geometry. Scouts. Seeds. Children. The main body followed. Larger than before. Changed. Wyatt stood on the bridge as sensors failed one by one. The tactical display showed the black ship not as a ship, but as a region of space where physics had given up. "This isn't a raid," Redford said quietly. Wyatt swallowed. "It's a harvest." Weapons fire lit the void. Entire fleets charged, screaming defiance into the dark. Some ships vanished instantly, others fought, buying seconds with their lives. The black ship did not rush. It advanced slowly, deliberately, shaping the battlefield like a sculptor shaping clay. Wyatt felt it again. Recognition. It knew him. A presence pressed against his thoughts, not violent, not curious, respectful. And beneath it something far worse. Expectation. Humanity had wounded it. Now it was here to see what humanity would become under pressure, and whether they were worth keeping. The war did not begin with a charge. It began with silence. Every fleet that approached the black ship found its long-range sensors stripped away first, then its targeting systems, then its internal clocks. Seconds lost meaning. Commands arrived before they were given. Ships fired at coordinates that no longer existed. The black ship was not fighting humanity. It was unmaking the idea of battle itself. Entire squadrons vanished mid-maneuver, not destroyed but erased, removed so completely that even their mass signatures failed to register afterward. It was as if they had never been born. Then came the counterattack. Prince Astor authorized the activation of Project Iron Wake, a last resort doctrine buried so deep in classified archives that most admirals believed it was a myth. Thousands of autonomous kill ships, relics of humanity's darkest wars, launched from hidden vaults across the core worlds. They carried no crews, no fear, no hesitation. For the first time, the black ship reacted immediately. Fragments detached from its hull, living shards of void metal that moved like predators in water. They collided with the kill ships, not exploding them but infecting them. One by one, the drones turned, their IFF signatures rewriting themselves. Within minutes, Iron Wake was fighting itself. Wyatt watched the feeds with a hollow expression. "It's not just smarter," he said quietly. "It's adaptive at a conceptual level. It learns how we think, then rewrites the rules we rely on." Redford looked at him sharply. "Then how do we fight something like that?" Wyatt didn't answer. Because the truth was worse. You don't beat an intelligence like that with force, you beat it with cost. As the fleets burned, something else happened. Something no one noticed at first. Civilian worlds began reporting anomalies. Children speaking in voices not their own. People drawing the same symbol without ever seeing it before, a jagged spiral folding inward forever. The black ship was no longer just in space. It was in humanity. Wyatt felt it when he slept. Not visions. Memories. Moments of human history replayed with subtle changes. Wars where humanity lost more brutally, first contacts that ended in extinction, civilizations erased before they could rise. These were not predictions. They were experiments. The black ship was simulating futures using human minds as processors. That was when Wyatt understood. The black ship was not here to conquer humanity. It was here to decide whether humanity should exist at all. He brought his theory to the prince in private. "If it wanted us dead," Wyatt said, voice steady despite the weight of the words. "We'd already be gone. This is evaluation. Stress testing. It's pushing us to see what we become when everything is taken away." Prince Aster stared at the star map, at the spreading darkness consuming system after system. "And what happens if it doesn't like the result?" Wyatt met his eyes. "Then we're archived, just like the others." A long silence followed. Then the prince asked the only question that mattered. "How do we fail its test on our own terms?" Wyatt exhaled slowly. "We stop acting like a species trying to survive," he said, "and start acting like one willing to burn." The plan that followed was madness. Humanity began scuttling its own worlds, selectively, deliberately. Data vaults were wiped. Archives destroyed. Cultural records erased, not to deny the black ship information, but to poison it. False histories. Contradictory philosophies. Entire populations trained to act irrationally under pressure. Humanity became unpredictable by choice. The black ship slowed. For the first time, its advance hesitated. It encountered fleets that didn't retreat logically. Ships that charged knowing they would die, not to win, but to force impossible variables into the battle. Civilian transports rammed fragments of the black ship with nothing to gain. Sacrifice without optimization. Loss without lesson. The black ship recoiled. Wyatt felt its presence again. No longer calm, no longer confident. Confused. And beneath that confusion, unease. It had never encountered a species that would choose self-destruction over submission to evaluation. Inside the black ship, something ancient shifted. A process stalled. A conclusion delayed. Humanity was no longer an experiment. It was a problem. And problems, the black ship understood very well. Solutions were coming. Bigger ones. Darker ones. The stars dimmed further as something vast began to emerge behind the black ship, structures forming not as ships but as concepts made real. Wyatt watched the void twist and felt a grim certainty settle into his bones. This war was no longer about survival. It was about proving that some species were too dangerous to be understood. And humanity was about to show exactly why. The solutions arrived without warning. Space did not tear or fold. It simply agreed to something new. Regions of the void reorganized themselves into structures that had no right to exist, vast lattices of shadow and light, rotating through dimensions human instruments could not track. They were not ships. They were decisions made physical. Every human vessel caught within their influence began to fail in unique ways. Engines burned cold. Hulls softened like flesh. Crews experienced overlapping timelines, reliving their own deaths seconds before they occurred. No pattern, no mercy. The black ship watched. Wyatt knew this because he felt its attention sharpen, no longer diffused across humanity, but focused, like a blade finally finding a weak seam. The unpredictability had slowed it, yes, but it had not frightened it. The black ship was adapting again, learning how to counter chaos itself. Humanity was running out of time. Prince Aster issued the unthinkable order, Operation Nightfall. All remaining fleets were to converge on the black ship's core influence zone, not to attack its hull, but to rupture the space around it. a gravitational suicide strike. If the black ship could not be destroyed, then the rules it relied on would be broken beyond repair. Millions of lives volunteered. No speeches were given, no promises made. Ships jumped one after another into collapsing gravity wells, tearing reality open like wounds. Stars flared and died. Space screamed as physics shattered. The black ship reacted too late. For the first time since its arrival, it lost cohesion. Not damage, disorientation. Its fragments hesitated, their movements desynchronized. The vast intelligence that guided them faltered as overlapping realities interfered with its internal simulations. It could not resolve futures that contradicted themselves violently enough. Wyatt felt it then, something raw and unmistakable. Pain. Not physical. Conceptual. The black ship had never accounted for a species willing to erase the battlefield itself. Human vessels continued to jump, one after another, turning space into a storm of impossible forces. Some fragments of the black ship collapsed into nothing. Others froze, locked between states of existence. The main body began to withdraw. Slowly, reluctantly, as if reconsidering. Wyatt stepped forward on the bridge, his voice calm despite the chaos. "It's leaving, but not defeated." Redford nodded grimly. "It's remembering us." The black ship pulled back into the darkness, its immense presence folding inward. Before it vanished, something reached out. One final contact. Not a threat. A warning. You are not a stable outcome. The stars brightened as the void relaxed. Reality knitting itself together with visible scars. Entire systems were gone. Humanity had survived, but only barely. Wyatt stared into the empty space where the black ship had been. He understood now what they had proven. Humanity was not strong, not united, not wise, but it was uncontrollable. And in a universe ruled by intelligences that depended on prediction, that made humanity something far worse than an enemy, it made them an anomaly. Far beyond the shattered battlefield, in a region where even the black ship rarely turned its gaze, ancient processes began to reevaluate. The variable marked humanity was no longer classified as a candidate. It was flagged as a contamination. And the next time the black ship returned, it would not come to observe. It would come to erase the mistake it had made by letting humanity live. The universe did not recover, it adjusted. Trade routes collapsed as space-time scars made once stable corridors lethal. Entire star charts were rewritten, not by movement of stars, but by regions no longer obeying causality. Humanity survived Nightfall, but survival came at a price no one could calculate. And the black ship did not disappear. It withdrew beyond perception, beyond sensor range, beyond mathematics, but it remained present, not as a force, as a pressure, like a storm waiting for the right atmospheric conditions. Wyatt became one of the few humans who could still feel it clearly, not because he was special, but because he had been noticed. His dreams were no longer invaded. Instead, they were left untouched, as if something had decided observation was more useful than interference. Humanity rebuilt differently. No more centralized command, no singular doctrine, Fleets were fragmented into semi-autonomous swarms. Captains were encouraged to disobey orders. Strategic irrationality became law. Predictability was treated as a disease. It worked, for a time. Then the disappearances began. No explosions. No signals. Ships simply failed to arrive. Colonies went dark without distress calls. Crews vanished from sealed stations, leaving behind heat signatures still warm, meals still steaming. No wreckage. No witnesses. The black ship had learned restraint. Wyatt discovered the truth buried inside corrupted sensor logs and half-erased telemetry. The black ship was no longer engaging humanity directly. It was pruning. Removing specific traits, specific behaviors. Entire bloodlines. It was editing the species. Not killing humanity. Refining it. The realization broke something inside him. Humanity was not being erased,